Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. A special Saturday edition of the altcoin video. I've been away for the past week at ETH Denver. Did not attend the main conference. I did attend 12 side events. I did not discuss ETH at any of them. Big themes were stablecoins, RWA, staking, yield, and the AI stuff all seems a little early to me. Everybody's still launching their own coin. Everybody's got all these ideas with no utility yet for the most part. So I'm just generally bearish alts here and continue to be so. Looking at dominance, still bullish for BTC. End of story. That's all there is to it there. We're at 61%. I don't really care where this goes. I just want to be on the right side. And it continues to be bullish despite the drop in BTC. As we talked about for weeks on this channel, alts had looked very weak and bearish. Bad things happened below the cloud, etc. I specifically was discussing if BTC does complete that daily edge to edge, then alts will surely suffer more than they already have. So no real surprises there on that front. And it doesn't look like alt season. This is, if anything, a cup and handle for BTC. And the more projects that continue to release coins, the better for BTC, because then it's harder for any one coin to hold on and maintain a narrative. And they're just dividing the liquidity against the same pizza pie. That same pizza pie is getting divided infinitely, and it's making everyone weaker on the altcoin side. And until alts can get liquidity in a bigger way, maybe that's ETFs, maybe that's more brokerages adding spot crypto directly. But until that happens, alts are in rough shape. Here's basically inverse dominance. Total 2 stripping out stables divided by BTC. This continues to be bearish. That's been the singular message here. It had a brief moment when liquidity was up in Q4, and it's given it all back. Alts need infinite liquidity and 0 rates, 0% rates. What do they have now? They have limited liquidity, and rates are above 4%. So still not the time for alts to broadly do well on trend. They may have moments, they may have weeks where they do well, but to me, they are not a buy and hold. Looking at total 2 over BTC, again, no surprises here. This has been bearish since at least the end of January. You had a bearish TK cross back here, never recrossed, then you got in the cloud, then you went below the cloud, and now we're deeper. So there really is no surprises. Best case for total 2 here is that you're getting some sort of falling wedge thing again. Very possible. We tend to see this over and over and over in retail products where you get this sickle sigh parabolic downside because you have paper-handed retail people who push things lower. And we certainly saw it on Tesla in 2022. Has this puked enough? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe yes. You don't have to guess. You can just wait. You can just wait like you waited into October when we finally got a little bit of a bottoming, got a double bottom, a triple bottom, an inverted head and shoulders back above the daily cloud. That took 4 to 6 months. Okay. So do you have time to wait to be sure? I think so. Absolutely. But I think that's the best case here for total 2. Still far below the cloud. Still bearish. Stables up top here. Haven't really printed on net any new highs. They've kind of just hung out up here around 200 billion between the stables that matter, Tether and USDC. And until we see stables expanding, maybe we see a stablecoin bill. If you're bullish stablecoins, maybe you think alts do better. If you're bullish liquidity, which I'll show here in the red, maybe you're all in alts here and you just think they're going to turn the printers on and everything's going to go to infinity. Okay. I mean, that's a trade. That's a viewpoint. I prefer to wait until the printers actually get turned on for that. Total global liquidity in the red relative to total 2 in the white has generally followed the same trajectory. Only really in the past 6 to 8 months has it been this like flip-flop lead lag. It's broken down a little bit as far as the direct relationship goes. But the higher the red line goes, the higher the white line goes eventually. That's the takeaway. So it's good to see total liquidity up significantly from the bottom. But what else do you want to see? You want to see dollar down, you want to see 10-year yield down, and you want to see inflation down. You don't want to see a recession. Are alts recession proof? I doubt it. Everybody remembers post printers getting turned on in 2020. But what they might not remember is before the printers got turned on, before the stimmies got sent out, things didn't look so hot for alts until the printer got turned on. The good news is Truflation is sub 2% here for the first time in a big way since September last year. And most of Truflation's history since 2021 has been above 2%. Certainly not perfect, but if this was surging to 3%, 6%, 12%, 25%, whatever, bigger cause for concern. And you can dig into the composition on here. You can look at the percentages, whatever. I don't really care. All I care about is index go down. Great. That means rates should come down quicker. What's not following here is the actual CPI, which is still quite elevated, core, PCE, et cetera, et cetera. I'll talk about this more next week, but it's going to take some time for the real-time data to feed into the actual inflation prints here. Another interesting data point this week was GDP now, which turned negative for the first time in I don't know how many months, how many years at this point, we're seeing a negative print on the GDP estimate. Now, you could say, well, this is all imports, exports, whatever. Again, I don't care. I'm just looking at the index, and this is not good. You can do all the mental gymnastics you want, explain it away all you want, hand wave it away all you want. I don't care. What is the print going to be for Q1? That's going to be very important. We get another update March 3rd. Does this bounce back to 2%? Maybe, right? We'll talk about it then. But to see this and say, man, alts look good here. Alts are down 90%. They're in a discount. I don't know. And lastly, of course, we've got the Fed probabilities, which have not quite shifted to significant cuts just yet. So we want the liquidity. We want rates low. We don't want a recession. We don't want runaway unemployment. We don't want runaway inflation. Before I go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to our trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro at the link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Paired Ventures Inc., PBI DBA Kraken. Looking at the old BTC here, unfortunately for the bulls, we did end up moving through the cloud here. This wasn't a surprise. This wasn't a secret. I don't care what your system is. If it didn't catch this, then maybe think again and adjust some stuff here. If you were 100x margin long, maybe change your system. I don't know what to say, but cloud was right. So that's a win for the cloud. That's a win for price being in the cloud for as long as it was. It's really a win for this whole deserted island mentality where all that really matters is TA. Everything around Bitcoin last week was bullish before legacy started to break down, before the tariffs. It was only really BTC that was leaning negative. Bollinger Bands as well, it's a win for them. Bollinger Bands called this before the breakdown there, not being able to hold above the daily 20 moving average, getting very tight before expanding. So to me, this is a massive win for TA. Absolutely. So we completed the edge to edge. The question I always get every single time, invariably, is always, can I take the next trade from here to here? I don't care what you do. I'm not telling you what to do, so it doesn't matter to me. But what I've experienced is probably not the best idea to just assume we're going to get a move through the cloud again to 98. The other thing we hit here on the technicals, double top, head and shoulders, whatever this ended up being, the measured move, we've reached that at this point. So I'd expect anything more in a big way to the downside super quickly, to me, doesn't make too much sense. What we don't want to see is any sort of bear flag down here. We got the dragonfly yesterday. We got the tweezer before that. The tweezer got negated, but we did get a dragonfly. So we're seeing what we need to see in the initial stages of a bottoming process. We hit the yearly pivot as well as another win for pivots. We're still below the 20-week moving average. So high time frames certainly more bearish than bullish, but it's a good sign so far. Hitting levels we expected to hit. As far as clarity for trend going forward, probably not going to see anything until April, if I had to guess. The other silver lining here is the cloud is fully reset. Just as it fully reset. Back here, you're going to get bearish TK cross, bearish cloud, price below cloud. Everything is bearish. Everything. So if at any point, March, April, May, June, July, we are back above the cloud with a bullish TK cross, with a bullish cloud, great signal to take. That's going to take a lot of time. The hardest part about crypto is patience. Everybody wants everything yesterday in 2 seconds. Better thing to do is just be patient. So I'll come back to BTC on low time frames, but on the daily, this is not a long here. You can say, I'm bidding the bottom of the cloud, I'm bidding the pit. That's fine. Love it. I bought some myself. Love it. But to assume that this is going to be fine and bounce and it's impossible this keeps going lower eventually is a bit silly. If it does go lower, I don't know, 74, 73. If this does end up being a bear flag, you'd want to see it consolidate for a few more days. So I have a massive list here. And let's just save everybody some time. I'm going to go through this list. If we're below the cloud or in the cloud, no trade. There's just no trade for me. Ripple, in the cloud. Sol, far below the cloud. far below the cloud. Now we can get back to this on lower time frames, and I'll do that. But on the daily, you have to understand bad things happen below the daily cloud. Bad things as in bullish. I assume everybody watching these videos is basically long crypto. ETH below the cloud. LTC above the daily cloud. I'll come back to that one. Trump doesn't have a daily cloud. I don't care about it. It's not for me. I wouldn't trade it. Doge below the cloud. ETH BTC continuously below the cloud. Multi-year downtrend. Multi-year parabolic unwind. Headed for what looks to be eventually new lows there. SWI below the cloud. Stellar below. Pepe below. Far below. TIA below, but trying to sort of do something, but still below. ADA below. Monero above. I'll come back to that one on the daily. Link below. Helco below. This is basically Total 2, right? Total 2 looks exactly like all these charts. Algo below. You could say, I'm going to watch something relative to all of these charts with the assumption that maybe this is some sort of falling wedge. Maybe I can pick up some sort of bull div here, TKC clamp. You could say that. I just don't think it's worth it personally. So below. Kaito. I wouldn't trade this with a 2021 million foot pole. Not enough data. Don't care. Fartcoin. Also don't care. Hope this goes to zero. FTM. Below the cloud. Ondo. Below. Peanut. Hope it goes to zero. No cloud. Below the cloud. Dot. Below the cloud. And you get the point. You know, this is what the overlay for trend is good for. You can literally flip through all these charts in 2 seconds and see what you see. PopCap pretty far below the cloud. Although we are trying to double bottom on this one. You know, maybe set an alert somewhere here on 035 or something. Nothing I would ever trade for any reason. But okay, I can see it. AI16Z. Nothing there. No cloud. Don't care. Render far below the cloud. Maybe bearish bullish TKC clamp. You can see the just mega oversold conditions. Whiff far below the cloud. Don't care. Rune far below the cloud. I don't care. And again, I've said this for weeks and weeks and weeks about alts. You could say, you know what, I'm going to go long. I don't care. I'm going to put a stop loss at some logical level on local lows. Hope for the best. I don't hate that idea. I'm not doing it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying I'm not doing it. It's an idea. You could say, you know what, on March 1st, Josh said everything was turbo bearish and that was the bottom. You were so wrong. Okay, fine. None of this stuff is bullish. None of this stuff is trend bullish. And I could just sit out. I can do other stuff, right? Rune I wouldn't touch just for fundamental reasons. So you got to be careful on that one. And we can go down this list. It doesn't get any better for most of these. Maker's another one. Starting to look okay. Is there a trade here? Are you too late? Is this some sort of expanding, broadening wedge? Is this, you know, is this a breakout to take potentially if we fib this out? Where would we even fib this out? Maybe go from there to there. You know, I don't think this goes to 6,000 personally, but maybe it's a breakout to watch as it's starting to get back above the cloud. But almost everything else looks very much in dire straits. It looks very bad on the daily. Back to Litecoin. Litecoin, one of the only high market cap coins that is above the daily cloud. It has failed to break out in a big way above 130. 130 would be the level. 135 confirmation. You want to see a daily close above these levels. Daily close above 130 is a good first step. Is this an inverted cup and handle? Or sorry, inverted head and shoulders? Kind of, sort of. Measurements haven't changed here. Initially, if this breaks out, I like those levels. And on lower time frames, maybe there's something to be said about the 4 hour. But we are reaching here, folks. If we have to talk about Litecoin as a trade setup against everything else, we are reaching. But it does look extremely bullish relative to everything else. And we can pull up LTC, BTC. And it's the same story on the daily. This looks excellent on high time frames. This looks excellent. On the weekly, this looks excellent. It's starting to bottom, starting to curl up. Is this a strong slam dunk, amazing on trend weekly move? No, but it's something when there's nothing going on. That's about it. Monero, as I've said before, and as I've said time and time again, it's traded virtually nowhere. It has occasions where it does well. Sometimes it's risk off. Is Monero up because the Bybit hack and the laundering and washing and blah, blah, blah? I don't know. Maybe, right? I don't really care. But looking at this chart, it is doing better than most everything. Is it pretty? Is it a great entry? Is it a great setup? All those things, no. But on trend, it is bullish relative to everything else. Now back to BTC on low time frames. I'll put a timestamp here for the low time frame enjoyers who could care less about anything above the 4 hour. Looking at BTC on the 4 hour, alts on the 4 hour, on the hourly, we're starting to show signs of a bottom in a bigger way. This is hourly BTC. I don't really care about the time frame. This is hard to understand for the newer people, especially. I could care less. What I care about here is the duration. This is multiple days. This may end up being a multi-week process here, but to see this form on the daily, we had your 3 drives. This was a continuous bull div here, 3 lower lows, 3 higher lows in RSI. Now we're getting potentially an inverted head and shoulders, and this would measure 92, 96. I doubt we see that, but it is a setup. It is a trade. It is something to do, something to watch when everything else maybe doesn't look so great. The good news for alts is if BTC can move higher, alts should do well. Probably a little early to take this trade here. I like it better closer to 86. I like it better closer to futures open on Sunday. You, of course, have to be mindful of Orange Man tweeting anything about tariffs, which will most certainly happen this week. But that's a pattern to watch. Ripple high time frames, I would just be worried about this head and shoulders. I wouldn't trade this on low time frames. Hasn't broken down enough yet, and it's still in the cloud, so I don't really care. The low time frame stuff, like Sol, you want to watch this if it already had a huge drawdown. Sol's down, I don't know, 40, 50, 60, 70% still from highs there. I think the earliest you'd probably want to take anything is on the hourly. You can see here it's tried to get above the hourly cloud a few times. It just got smacked down. Okay, fine. One trade to take if you are looking for something to do, not that it has a high hit rate, not that it has backtested well, but it is something to do, would be above the hourly cloud, just because for the past X weeks, it has been unable to get back above the hourly cloud. Something to do, something to think about. ETH, low time frames, really getting just pummeled here on the hourly. Now we could maybe say this is a something channel bottom. I don't know. I don't have anything good to say here, but something to watch again on the hourly. If this can get into the cloud, start to do something, then maybe. But you're probably just better off trading Sol if Sol starts to turn around on the hourly. One thing for ETH that still hasn't happened, this is active validators for ETH. We haven't really seen people losing their religion on the validator front yet. Still quite high, not rolling over. Not that we should start to see this, but eventually, if ETH continues to underperform over a series of years, what you will see is validators peeling off. And as an example, this is Dash. And you could say and justify this for any number of reasons. But since the high in, 2020 or 2021, this has just continued to bleed masternodes. Now, the ETFs for ETH, should they get staking, would obviously change this data quite a bit. But we have what we have currently. So I don't really see any great setups there for ETH on low time frames. I guess we can look at Sol BTC. Kind of all over the place, not really much to say or do here. Far below the cloud, super choppy, super volatile. I haven't seen too many other great setups that I like on alts on low time frames. The problem is you are coupling a lower hit rate time frame with like the tracking error of leveraged BTC on occasion, plus all the coin inflation. That's why alts tend to do best as a group, and the best signals are always going to be on the daily. So LTC, Monero, Maker probably look the most bullish here on alts. I'm sure there's probably one or two of them that look decent, but for the most part, all of these charts look very, very bearish. Very, very bearish. Still, they don't look collectively like they are showing signs of a bottom. You would see that in multiple charts. You'd see that on dominance. If dominance was bearish, you'd see that on total 2. If total 2 is showing bottomy signals, we're not seeing that at all. We're not seeing a bounce. Just is what it is, right? The toughest part is patience here and waiting for a big fat pitch down the center. But until then, you're kind of stuck guessing and trading what you have. And what you have now from a cloud perspective would be LTC and this low time frame setup for BTC. On the hourly, probably to watch into Monday at the latest, we're going to know if this has the juice to break up or not. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.